Back to the DNA Pest Control Podcast with Mr. Aaron to my left.
And Mr. Daniel to my right.
There we go. So, Aaron, this is your episode. I should have let you start everything, huh?
That's okay. You got a good intro. But yes, this is something that we've hit on over the past few episodes as we're talking about growth. We hit it specifically when we were talking about on the culture episode. So if you haven't listened to that, please go back and check that out. But we wanted to cover the importance of having a professional team in the work setting and the difference between what a team is and looks like versus what you hear about creating a quote-unquote family environment in business, which is being thrown around very loosely now.
Yeah. And that is, I feel something, you've seen kind of the change. You saw it with sales. I don't know if you saw it with sales. I saw it with sales. When I started in sales, you had to manipulate. You had to lie. You had to create the urgency. You had to do so much to get that sale. And really kind of disguise that you're a salesman, right? Because there was so much bad against it. Mm-hmm. And you fast forward from when I started to now, a decade later, more than a decade later, a salesman is not looked at as what it used to be looked at, right? And I feel that times change with those things, right? So a salesman now, yes, we all know car salesmen bad, right? They're terrible, they're pushy, all this. But when you talk about something else like our profession, you go in and you sell something, they know that you're here to sell something. Mm-hmm. You're a salesperson.
Yeah.
We get it. I know. It's not a secret. You don't have to hide it. You don't have to manipulate it. I feel that back then, the family environment was a big push. Culture has changed today in the U.S., I don't feel that there's a big push on family. And I think it worked back then with companies and making it more of a family environment. It's a family feel.
Yeah. We're
here together. Even when businesses were small businesses, family owned, it had a whole new name to it. And today, consumers and employees are seeing right through that bullshit. It's not a family environment. You're not treating me how a family would. You're not going to lend me $5,000 if I need it. There's so much stuff there that's not even in line with what a family would typically do, right? Mm-hmm. And those times have changed, and I do agree with you loosely, right? It is very loose now. Everybody says it. Everybody wants it. This is what it is. And it's really not there. I don't see it.
No.
I don't see it anymore. I don't believe it. And we actually talked about it on a past episode, about family. And we kind of gave our opinion on that very short and quick.
Yeah.
But we wanted to dive more into that too. Mm-hmm. And talking about what that professional team instead of the family looks like. Mm-hmm. Right? You want to start off with that?
Yeah. You and I have been talking about it a lot. It's exactly what it is. It's a team. And in any team, you have players or people performing certain roles based on the needs of the team and their skill sets.
Yeah.
And it's oversimplified because it's how it should be. Mm-hmm. I think that people get confused with relationships that they build along the way can kind of cloud certain judgments on putting the right people in the right position. Sports is a very easy analogy to use for this, but it's very clear on which position does what and why they're in that position in the first place, whether it's height, athleticism, throwing ability, catching ability. You know what I mean? There's certain keys and roles that once you take the feelings out, it's a lot more of a clearer picture on how to get to that common goal.
Yeah, right. And you have those key players there, involved with that. And we kind of threw them together and we just kept it as that team sport, type of thing. And I guess leaders, we could say captains, mm-hmm. right? You do have your outliers, which some, They throw a C on there as captains, but outliers are going to be those guys who are absolutely outstanding players. They're not even on the same level as most guys. Whether you like it or not, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Mahomes is one of those outliers. Kelsey is one of those outliers. They're putting in way more work and taking things way more seriously than everybody else who has come and gone through that team. Mm-hmm. It is what it is, right? But everyone has those outliers when it comes to a business as well. You have those bench players, and you talk to them. You need those guys that just do the job. You're filling that position. Mm-hmm. We need an O-line guy. Is he exceptional? No. We just need someone to fill that spot. We need a 350-pound guy to hold his ground. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's all we need you to do.
Yeah.
And so in each one of those, they do have their role as a professional team, and it's understanding what those roles may look like or may be, but you have to have that there. And you need to have those outliers, those guys that are going to just step up and they're going to go way more than everybody else. We had a talk prior to this episode a little bit about it, right? We're talking about, because we've been doing some reviews with guys and things like that. And a lot of people will come in and say, oh, well, at past companies, I've been there for 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. And there was really no room for growth, and there's a big misconception of doing your job. You show up every day, you do it, you don't have any complaints, right? You're a healthy adult. Mm-hmm. Like you're a great adult. You're doing the adult thing really well. Like you don't have anybody mad at you. Great. You're being an adult. You showed up on time. Great. You're responsible. You're being an adult.
Awesome.
You've completed all your jobs. You showed up. You answered phone calls as they came in. You handled those customers well. You were professional. Great. You were an adult. Mm-hmm. Like, cool. Right?
Yeah.
People think that is an outlier. It's not.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Not even close.
Well, that's where people say, well, there was no room for growth. No, there was no room for growth for you because you weren't willing to put in what was needed to do more. Economics 101, I've talked about in the past, you get paid with what, with what you're worth, right? There was another economics video I saw, and the guy talks about it and says, you will never get paid everything you do, right? Everything you do, you will always get paid underpaid. Everything. Mm-hmm. He's like, it's going to hurt when you hear it. But because in the world of money, you can't get paid more than what your job is, what you're making. Mm-hmm. Even if you're an owner. I'm doing, my value is $1 million. I'm putting $1 million out into the world, right? I can't make $2 million. The world will never pay me that. Mm-hmm. It may pay me $500,000.
Yeah.
It can't pay me more. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't exist. I can't sell you something for $10, right? Mm-hmm. And tell you it's $10 and expect 20. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work that way. If it costs me $10, I can't sell it for $5.
Yeah.
Right? There's so many analogies I can put in there to make it to where it doesn't make sense because you can't sell a product for less than what it costs you. Mm-hmm. You can't hire someone who costs you more than what you're making.
Yeah. Yeah.
A pest control company's doing $100,000 a year. You cannot hire a CEO and pay them $250,000 a year. You can't. Mm-hmm. Where's the money? Unless you got a loan, and the whole point of that CEO is to bring it to a $5 million company within a year or two, right? It doesn't work that way. But that's where bench players who say, I put in this time and I'm doing this, and you've just been doing what we've asked you to do from day one. Right. I asked you to show up on time. I asked you to complete your stops. I asked you to spray homes. I asked you to be polite. I asked you to take care of customers. I asked you to do those things. And then you come in and say, well, I should be a manager. In what sense? That doesn't even make sense. You've literally done zero managerial things. You've done your job. You've shown up.
And that's what I mean. But the argument from their side could be, but I've done everything you asked me.
Exactly. But you have not done everything I haven't.
Exactly. There we go.
Right? You haven't done, right? Kobe, you love him, like him. Michael Jordan. Dude, those guys put in more time than everybody else.
Yeah.
Kobe was there prior to people showing up at the gym, and they thought they could beat him to the gym.
Yeah.
You know, it's all of those things create such phenomenal players. Tiger Woods was at the golf course practicing the dumbest stuff that so he could get way better than everybody else. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
Right? They weren't the mediocre player. I show up to practice because you said practice is between 9 and 12. Okay, well, if you show up between 9 and 12, you will be a bench player. Right?
That's it.
Like that's it. You're putting in the minimal work. Right? You go back to stories with Tom Brady, Gronkowski. You get those guys, and Gronk would call up Brady and say, "Hey, dude, let's go here, let's go there. I'm coming to your house on a weekend. It's not even practice time. You're gonna throw me 100 passes because I need to get better at this. I didn't feel good about the game, whatever it was. We got to work on this." And that's what they would do. You know, no one really ever focuses on that stuff. They just see what the outcome was, but they have no idea what was really put into it.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day. And that's where these bench players have to understand. You're listening now, you're in the office. You may even be management. You got there by luck, right? Are you doing just your job? Are you doing more?
Might be a tough one to ask yourself.
I think everyone should.
Yeah. I agree.
You know? What else? I mean, you see it kind of, we talked about leaders, outliers. I focus way too much on bench players, but I'll let you hit on the other ones.
No, you're good. You're good. And this kind of transitions to the next point, talking about the consequences for not treating it like a professional team. I've worked at a plethora of small and large companies, and one of the most common things that I've seen when it comes to feelings is you get somebody in a management position and it's very clear they shouldn't be in that position. But certain circumstances, whether it's time spent, relationship with their bosses, whatever weird situations happen, for some reason that person is in a management position, and you have people under that person who are far more capable, but the person who's orchestrating everything can't take feelings out of it, and they can't have those hard conversations and make those decisions to say, you know what, even though, Daniel's been here for 10 years, and he's in a management spot and he has, 3 kids and his wife left him, you know what I mean? Start getting all these sob stories versus you have this young kid who comes in, or whoever, doesn't have to be young, but this person who's hungry and he's motivated, he's thinking outside the box, clearly a better fit for it. Only been there for a year and a half though. It's like, I wouldn't want to stir the pot. It's like, why? That's exactly what you should be doing. You have a terrible, I know we keep going back to sports. You have a terrible starting quarterback, and you draft like this rookie prospect who's, destined to be great. And then they let the shitty starting quarterback keep playing a couple seasons. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, let the other kid go.
That's my point. And that's what I've seen. And I think it's a common error that a lot of businesses make, is they're not willing to consistently check and make sure that person is the right person in that fit, because people can digress or regress like old habits as well too, or their growth can plateau, and then whatever happens, whether it's life or it's just their own personal stuff, where they're just not a good fit anymore. Maybe they were at the time that they were hired for that management spot. You've grown to a point where their skill sets just don't meet that level.
Yeah, and and this was kind of brought about because of a conversation we just had, right? And I don't think you saw it. I mean, when I said it, I was looking at his face, so it was perfect when I said, "We're not family," and he was like, whoa, like, what did you just say? And we're not, right? Those are the consequences of a family. You take that favoritism over somebody else, the politics, right? We kind of cover it up, but it's that family. It's you've been here the longest, so you should be in that position. You shouldn't be. You've been here the longest and you haven't progressed. It's probably time to go, right?
Yeah.
Or stay where you're at and be content. But you haven't been progressing. And that you're right. You know, I've been at places as well as they've, you know, they kind of hold people in certain positions because they've been there for longer, they put in the time and all of these things. And it's like, come on, you can't keep doing that. You know, as a family feel, we're family. It's like, no, we're not, you know, well, we're a family owned company. We're small and, you know, we treat our customers like their family. No, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't barge into their house with your muddy boots on and walk around. Like, come on. Like you disrespect people's houses and properties more than anything.
Yeah.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
You know, be a professional team. And we're going to treat you like one. We are going to be the professional, and this is what we do because these are our standards. And those are some of those consequences, you know, that we've had. And I've mentioned some of those is, you know, I've stepped in and I've helped out so many people and I pulled them in and I had that family feel and I tried to have that family feel, right? And I would take care of these guys and I would do so much for them. And what you get in return is nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. And you have to learn, like, and you're sitting there and you're like, seriously, I just did all of this stuff for you. And then you call in sick on like a super important day.
That happened to me a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, but and then you sit there and you're like, seriously? Everything I've just done for you. I jumped in. I'll take your shift today. Don't worry about it, dude. We're family, right? Like, I got your back. You'll get my back next time. And then that next time comes and I don't got your back. Get rid of that idea that it's a family. Get rid of that, because these are the consequences that start to happen, which get us into setting those boundaries.
Yeah.
Once you understand this is what we expect of you, you can still have the relationship. We should clarify this. You can still have really good relationships. You can still be on that family level, but you have to have those boundaries. You have to have that. That's actually one thing. Me and my brother years ago, I mean, I was 18, you know, and he was 20, 21 at the time. And we were looking at possibly getting a business and doing something together. And this was one of those talks that we had to have. We're brothers, right? We get along, right? Yeah, we do. We like each other. Hey, this is, you know, we're going to be in each other's lives for probably ever till one of us dies. Yeah. If we do this, we need to set these rules and these boundaries. And it's funny because we were family. And even then, and we didn't know much about business or anything then, but even then we knew that it was going to destroy us if we did not set those boundaries.
Yeah.
And we did not get the family feelings out of it. And it's funny that businesses want to bring it in.
Yes.
Right? They want to bring all those feelings in, but you know, we were sitting there saying, let's keep them out. If we're going to move forward, we need to make sure that that doesn't happen. And so setting those boundaries was huge for us then, which we didn't get into business or do anything. So it was fine. But, you know, but that's something that we have to look at is you get into those feelings, you get into the family feel, and boundaries are everything. And that's something that we've actually worked on, you know, really, really recently and been planning for a long time to get everything right so we can set those boundaries. So we step away from, hey, I like this kid. It's no, I like him still.
Yeah.
I just now am taking a different approach and a different look. You want to be a bench player, that's fine. Sit on the bench. But don't expect to be a leader. Don't expect to be an outlier.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. And these are the boundaries because we're creating them.
Yeah. I think that's good. I think with that too, you know, we kind of doing a lot of analogies and a lot of, you know, stories kind of help it make sense. But talking about a team of technicians, you know, how big or small your company is, you're going to have, you know, guys doing whether it's just basic residential route, size of your company, you might be creeping into some smaller commercial, you might be actually into some apartment complexes or some multifamily housing. We have been creating very clear paths for each employee as it pertains to their growth and kind of what their skill set is, and creating that roadmap for them, something we've been doing recently. And as you're doing that and you're putting people in these more sensitive positions, the boundaries and lines have to be clearer. The consequences have to be higher. The rewards have to be a little bit higher as well. Mm-hmm. Similar to the MVP on a team, that person's in the biggest spotlight. You're going to put a guy in a position to be 100% over commercial, handling all your sensitive accounts. That's not going to be the same guy that you find on Indeed to start a route next week because you need to fill that position because one guy just left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you have to be able to look at your team as a whole and say, hey, even though this guy's been doing some of the commercial stuff, we got this other guy that came in who's really hungry, who wants to learn, who wants to grow, he's doing everything correctly. Mm-hmm. Maybe there needs to be a shift there.
Yeah.
Maybe there needs to have maybe some tough conversations need to be had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, that is, I mean, when you're setting those boundaries, and that's really the base of what we're trying to say is keep it professional. Even if you work at a family owned company and it's family and we're family here, family there, right? You know, you need to keep yourself in check and don't fall into it's family. 'Cause at the end of the day, you're going to get burnt as if you were not family, or they may get burnt as if they were not family. And you're going to destroy a good relationship that doesn't have to be destroyed. Right. And when you keep it on a professional level, the respect is there. You know, let's go back to sports. Teams lose players are free agents. They don't agree on, the contract, and they separate. They don't hate each other. A lot of them keep that relationship really, really good.
Oh,
and
yeah,
they're
they
really
see the
close.
Coach and they're saying hi, and it's,
Yeah. Well, you do let's go to a fresh one like Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady never said anything bad about Bill at all.
Yeah.
I mean, and people were trying. Mm-hmm. He never said anything. Bill never said anything against Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. Not once. The Patriots team never came out and said anything against Tom Brady. They even invited him to come back, I don't know if they retired his jersey or whatever they did. Yeah. But they had him there at the stadium, right? But that's what it is. You set those boundaries, you set the professionalism there. The family part comes naturally. Mm-hmm. The relationship part comes naturally. Don't force it. You just barely met this damn guy. Like, seriously, he's your brother? Get out of here. You don't even know what he's done in his life.
True.
You are not bringing them in and saying it's family. It's not. We're professional. When you prove yourself and you've got my back, like I'm going to prove that I got your back, you start to gain my respect, like I hope to start gaining your respect. Guess what? The family part comes with that.
That's true.
But it's the boundaries there that you have to set that. Right? You're going to have those tough conversations. You don't typically have those tough conversations with the family because you're going to hurt their feelings and then they're going to get mad at you.
Yeah.
Conversations we just had. I don't appreciate you doing this in this way. Talk to me differently. Mm-hmm. You got a problem with that? Great. It's professional. The door's always there. It's always open. Mm-hmm. Leave. But I don't appreciate what you said. Now, you can take that however you want, but I'm being upfront, honest, and I'm trying to gain respect. I'm trying to show you what I expect from you and what you expect from me. Mm-hmm. You get that professional, you get those boundaries set, you start creating those rules, you start creating those processes. The family's going to come.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. But you have to be that team first. You got to get those boundaries first. Mm-hmm. Those goals that we're setting, it's... as a leader, because not even outliers are leaders. That's what some people have to realize as we're saying these things, right? Just because you're an exceptional player does not mean you're an exceptional leader.
Yeah.
You just put up big numbers.
Exactly.
You work super hard. That's it. You're a big producer in the company. You can go out and get 20, 24 stops done in a day. You're an outlier. You are a high achiever.
Yeah.
That does not mean you can lead a team. Now, you could show a team what they need to do, but that doesn't mean you're leading that team. That's why you do see some of the captains who don't even walk out to the middle of the field, because they're not necessarily good leaders. You know, they're not the face. I mean, they're the face, but they're not like the actual, hey, I trust this guy with my life.
Yeah.
I just know he's going to do a really good job.
Yeah.
But setting those boundaries, setting those goals is something that we all have to look into, and we have to create as a leader, as an owner, as management. You know, what goals are you setting that everyone can buy into? And that's the big thing. Is, are you creating something that they can tangibly see and that's there? You know, we talked about it between us, right? We work together, we're doing good, but we also have a common goal. And you know, just as much as I know, I'm going to work my ass off on my side, right? And I hope I've proven it, you know, for a year and a half, almost 2 years. It's like, he's going to get those things done. Just as a reverse role, it's, I know that you're going to get that shit done, and this is what we're working towards. Is it going to be rough and bumpy? Yes. But we know together that this is what it is. We bought into that.
Yeah.
You know, but we both have to buy into it. If I think it's BS, you're going to think it's BS.
That's true.
Or you think it's BS, I think it's real. It's never going to work.
Ever.
Yep. Eventually, you're going to start getting that feel back from one another. And you even brought that up prior. You know, what did you say? Remember what you said to me?
About what?
If you're not doing your side, you know, eventually one of us is going to say, no, we're done, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
You know, but that's just 100%. What it is.
Yeah. And that was the analogy when we started coming up with this episode, you know, because Daniel and I met outside of the office, outside of the industry. You know, we met at a gym, right?
Yeah.
So naturally there was a little bit more like camaraderie there, like, you know, as a friend before we started doing the professional thing. And, you know, it's very clear and it's been communicated that we both bring certain things to the table that makes this thing work. And, you know, I've told, you know, Daniel plenty of times, like the only thing that's really going to push me away is being stagnant.
Yeah.
Like if I feel that you're settling and you're okay with the way things are, I'm out. Right.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And I'm sure it goes back the same way. If you felt a point where I was just kind of checking boxes or doing things, I would expect you to approach me and be like, dude, what's going on? You know, like this is completely opposite of what we originally planned and what we've been doing for the past 2 years, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's a really healthy dynamic to have, because sometimes the technicians might see us as A, buddy, or B, strictly just like dictators, just like cracking whips. And it's like, and it's not always one side or the other. It's like, it's kind of like a mix, and you got to find where we want the company to go with the team that we have and who we need to be and what we need to do to fill those voids.
Yeah. Well, that's a hard thing too, is when you do have that and people do see that, they don't understand it because they're not in it either. So sometimes you do have, hey, why is that person there, or what's going on, or I want to do what he does, or this and that, or look at that, they're having fun, but I'm not having fun. And it's, we do what we do because we can turn it on and off. That's, once again, it goes back to the family thing compared to a professional team. There's a time to have fun and joke and have a good time. And then there's a time where it's like, hey, dude, we got to get this shit done. We have to crack down. We got to focus. We got to do it. That's what a lot of people can't do.
Yeah.
You know, and even when it comes into the goal setting and setting those goals, it's, okay, we had our fun. Let's set our goals. Now we know what we have to work towards, and we know what we have to do. We have Q1 set of what we're trying to accomplish, right? We have a month and a half to get the rest of that stuff done. We know that. We've already set that. We know what Q2 is going to look like as we step into that.
Yeah.
Because Q1 is done. We're done working on that stuff.
Yeah.
The date is finalized. It is what it is. That's when it's going to get done. We know that. That's the commonality. That's the common goal. And guys can't see that. And then if there's time to have fun, we're having fun. And it's hard to turn that on and off sometimes.
Yes. To the untrained eye.
Yeah.
To the untrained eye. And that's kind of the point of this topic that we're on now, is creating the goals that everyone can buy into, whatever that goal might be. You know, whatever stage of the company you're in, or if you're on the sales side, you're on the office side, and maybe your goal can be simply is, we got to clean up these customer cards. We got to clean up our filing system. And if that's your goal of the office, what steps are you taking to make sure that the team understands that's the collective goal to get to that next step? It doesn't have to be hitting X amount of $1 million or having offices in 10 states. It could be piece by piece. But are those goals clear?
Yeah.
Does everybody understand their part in achieving that goal together?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what we have to tell, you know, because when we say setting boundaries and setting goals, it's very clear on both of those, right? You go to a sports analogy again. And that sports analogy is, the kicker does not need to know the entire playbook of the quarterback. You don't have to have that, because if you do have the kicker learning everything the quarterback needs to learn and do, then you don't have a good kicker.
No.
And so those boundaries are very crucial with setting those goals. You have someone cleaning up customer cards in the office. They're cleaning up customer notes. Okay, that person does not need to know that you're going to produce 10 million in the year. It doesn't matter. They don't need to know that. But what they need to know is them cleaning up customer cards, or I'll throw out a personal example. We have stored credit cards in the system. This is something good for business, you know, guys that are getting into it that they may not know. You storing credit cards in the system, the credit card processing company typically will charge you to store credit cards if it's over a certain limit. Okay, if so many cards are stored in the system, they start charging you extra to keep those cards stored in the system. Any way that they can make a buck, right? Well, that person doesn't need to know that you're trying to reduce your bottom line expenses to X number. They just need to know we're trying to delete all these stored cards that we don't need to store in the system. And we need to get this completed by May 1st. That's it. Setting those boundaries, setting those goals specifically with that person to get those things done. They don't need to see the big picture in every case. Your outliers, your leaders do. The bench players, even some of the starters, they really don't have to see everything. But that's what it comes into, right?
Right.
You're setting those goals. You're setting a goal, your big goal as a professional team. That Lombardi trophy is our goal. We have 18 weeks, to really prove it. And out of those 18 weeks, we have to be at this to most likely get into that, to get into the playoff system, right? And so how are we going to do that? When are we going to rest the quarterback and take an L?
Yeah.
Can we even do that? They're planning all of those steps along the way. These key players, we understand the players we have now, where we're at. Someone's going to get sick. Someone's going to call out. Someone's going on vacation. Are we able to cover that and get that still done and completed without it hindering the growth and the new cells that are coming in? How are you planning for that? And then are you getting people involved on the level that they need to be involved, not the big level, but that level, so that they understand and can help get to that big picture?
I'm glad you brought that up too. People get that confused where they will overshare, and it's not like you're lying or you're being deceitful. I think it's just what's appropriate and what's going to actually produce the results that you need, in terms of getting people up to speed on their contribution and what that actually means,
Yeah. And it honestly is. I mean, if you tell some guys that big picture stuff, it can kind of manipulate or even hurt their production and what they're doing. I don't need to talk to a guy about being the commercial tech or the apartment tech. I need to talk to one guy about that because we have that one position open. I don't need to talk to everybody about that.
Yeah.
Unless I'm looking for the best one. Then I'm doing it strategically of saying, hey, this is what's going on and this is how we're going to do it. But it's because I want to see who's stepping in and who's fighting for it. Right? I want to get the best guy on it. But there's times to do certain things and times not to. Now, because we're creating that, or we're putting somebody in that position, they still don't need to know, hey, it's because we're doing this and we're making shifts and we're creating more management spots. They don't need to know that necessarily. That can come later, but this is what the goal is, and the immediate goal, our long-term goal, is going to change, and that's where it is. But goes back, are you setting your boundaries? Are you getting some of those feelings out? Because if they're not actually executing on the level that you need to come in and start saying, hey, it's time to go. Or, hey, we're not moving in that direction. We got to go in this direction with you, which I actually did. I did that with one of the girls in the office. I had multiple conversations with her, in which it destroyed her every single time. But she knew what she needed to do. It wasn't like she couldn't have the management role. It's not like she couldn't have those things. She just she couldn't handle the pressure of what it really meant. Can she do a lot of things? Yes. Did she do it well? Yeah. Management wasn't there. It just wasn't ever there. And I had those conversations with her, and it destroyed her every time. She cried every time. It was hurtful every time, but it wasn't that I was trying to attack. It was, we have to succeed. Like that's not an option not to, and you're not going to help me get there. In that role, I have to find someone else who will. You don't have it. You can do things, you just can't do that thing.
But like you said, that is how you treat a team. That is how you actually get somewhere, versus saying like, oh, I think you're doing great, just keep it up, and we'll revisit it in a month. It's like, no, this is not working. That's okay. But here's why it's not working, and here's where I think what needs to happen.
Yeah. So last 2 cents on my part of family and professional team is, and this is what I told Aaron prior to this, is if you are in a family environment where you work, take yourself out of it, not out of the activities, not out of, the camaraderie there. Take yourself out of, hey, this is family. No, change it to business. This is a professional team. I'm going to be a professional and I'm going to execute highly. Even though you don't get anywhere for 2-3 years, you've created a habit. You've created so much value for yourself in that time that somebody else is going to see that. Another opportunity is going to come up where you can step into that position and show what you've learned and what you can accomplish. So do that on your side. Be the professional. Execute on the highest level you possibly can consistently without expecting a reward at the end. If you can do that knowing there's no big reward at the end, you will always be okay. Always. You will never be without. It's guaranteed.
Yeah.
Because you're never expecting something great, but it's always going to come to you.
Yeah.
Because you're willing to put more value into what you're doing, which is going to create more value for yourself, and you will receive it. It will come back around.
I like that.
But take yourself out of the family scenario. And if you're starting something, don't create the family scenario. Create a professional scenario. The family will come. So don't think we're not saying that. The family will come. The relationships will come. All of that will come. You're going to have great ones. You're going to be helping people that you'd probably never thought you'd help. You're going to meet people you never would have met, and it's going to be awesome. But set the professionalism first, and then the family stuff will all come later with it.
Yeah. It's good. It was good 2 cents. I think for me, If you are a technician listening to this, and whether you're new, you're old, find out what the goal of your company is or where you're at in that position, and have a good chat with yourself and realize your weaknesses, work on those weaknesses to put yourself in a position to grow. Because as much as you might think management loves you or how cool you and your boss are, you might go to the gym after work, or you might hang out outside of work. I'm telling you now, if you're not producing, if you're not contributing to hit the goal, none of that stuff matters. None of that stuff matters. Nope. Now for management, on the other side, have those honest talks with yourself. Talk to your guys. If somebody's not in a good position or not a good fit, you need to address that sooner than later, because allowing it to just sit there and fester is what's keeping you from growth. So,
oh yeah, I agree with that 100%.
But thank you. I know this was a little long-winded, but we wanted to get this out there as we're pushing for growth, pushing for culture. And, the beginning of this year, we're going to have our Q&A drop this upcoming Thursday to close out February. We have a lot of good stuff planned for March. We are still waiting on some pest guests. It's been about 2 months since we've had one on. So,
yeah,
we might have to revisit the logbook and get some repeats on just to get the switch in. But,
oh yeah,
any questions you guys have, we have our Instagram, we have our social, we have our website where you can send in questions directly, or if you want to be a guest on the show, please let us know. But thank you again for listening to the DNA Pest Control Podcast.